Good evening, America, and welcome to New November Presents Top 5, Top 5, Top 5. And today, we're going to be talking about our top 5 90's cartoons. Now, this list is going to make a couple people mad. Because one, to me, again, to me, because it's my list, I believe that a 90's cartoon is a cartoon that came out in the 90's. Simple, simple. This is a simple concept. It's not really rocket science. If the cartoon came out in 1990 blank, it is a 90's cartoon. I know a lot of old heads are going to be like, nah, youngster. If it came out in 90, 99, 98, 96, that ain't no 90's cartoon. That's a 2000s cartoon. This run wasn't in the 90's. I don't care about when this run was. I care about when it came out. With that being said, there are a few things that I wish to keep off this list. All right, and and I don't want anybody to hate that I'm keeping these things off this list. All right, so first off, no Disney movies. All right, no Disney movies. Disney movies do not count as Disney cartoons. All right, there's a whole nother category. It's a whole nother list, and there's so many of them that it would just not even be fair. You can't compare any of these modern or cartoons of yesteryear to The Lion King. I mean, this is not fair, right? So it's not fair. We're not doing any Disney movies. Also, Disney in the 90's, them cartoons wasn't really hitting like that. Them joints was not really hitting like DuckTales. Like, no, I'm trying to hear about your DuckTales, boy. Get out of here. Anyway, it has to have more than 3 seasons. I don't want no short finishes, man. No quick runs. You know what I mean? Like, I want a cartoon that withstand the test of time. It has to have more than 3 seasons, more than three solid, you know what I mean, performances. Uh, which brings me to my next. It has to have a consistent plot. It can't just be a bunch of randomness every episode. Like, you know what I mean? No offense to some of the earlier cartoons, 91, 92, but a lot of them didn't have a lot of substance to them. A lot of them were just a lot of craziness, just seeing what you can get away with in a cartoon, which is cool. We love that. That's why we watch Adult Swim. But that brings me to my next thing. We can't have no adult cartoons in this. I'm trying not to cuss. YouTube been, you know what I'm saying, sending me letters. Look, no adult cartoons. TVMA is out of the question. Adult Swim, you get your own list when I feel like cursing. All right. Now, with that being said, let's just pop into it. Starting at number 5, we got the Codename Kids Next Door, 1998. I know what you're saying. Codename Kids Next Door. But you have to think about the cultural significance of Codename Kids Next Door. It was a spy agency, okay, of children who were simply just trying to overthrow adults as the leaders of the world. Now, as a grown man, I'm like, well, that's just asinine. That's ridiculous. But as a kid, you know what I'm saying? 4 years old and shit. You like, yo, that is dope. Number one, two, three, four, five. Y'all was the shit back then. And it wasn't even just them numbers. It went up to like 200 and so, yo, they had a bunch of operatives. You know what I mean? And their rogues gallery was crazy. They had so many different enemies. You know, some old lady was throwing. Anyway, their main antagonist was a dude named Father, and he had a group of little minions called the Delightful Children, which I never understood the Delightful Children. They always talk at the same time, but they was all different races. Like were they orphans or what was that about? But anyway, Codename Kids Next Door was a smash. That joint was crazy. If you don't like it, I don't like you. How about that? Anyway, coming in at number 4, one of my favorites personally is Hey Arnold. Hey Arnold 1996. Yo, Hey Arnold has so many messages. That's the thing about this list. I want the cartoons to have messages. You know what I mean? It just can't just be something you watching. It's something that when you were a youngin', you watched that joint and you grew from that joint. Like seeing Helga have a crush on Arnold. but she can't really like say nothing to him. So she'd be like, I hate you, Arnold. Oh, I hate you. Then she'd be like, oh, but how I love you. And then that little weird dude pop up behind her, and she had to smack him. Yo, that joint would have me rolling every time. And then Arnold, he was a down dude for his homies. Whenever his homies needed him, Arnold was there. Arnold was the first man up to be like, yo, I'm about to ride for y'all. Like, Arnold was a true one. He was a real one before there was real ones. And I remember he had a crush on some girl in his school, and that joint resonated to me because back then I was really trying to get my little swerve on. Anyway, he had a crush on a girl named Delilah or Lila. Anyway, she would be like, listen, Arnold, I like you, but I don't like you. And that joint, yo, that joint hit for me because I used to be a little ugly, you know what I'm saying? So girls would be like, you know, nigga, I don't really like you. You know what I'm saying? I used to feel that. I used to feel Arnold on that. He wasn't no Helga. He trying to get that, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, coming in at number 3, another personal favorite of mine, Courage the Cowardly Dog, 96. I was surprised to figure out that Arnold and Courage came out in the same year because 96 was on one. You hear me? Because Courage was, yo, first off, he was abandoned as a pup and he held in the middle of nowhere. And creepy stuff happened in the middle of nowhere. Uh, so he was adopted by Mariel, and her husband used his bags. And let me say this. Courage was the real MVP before KD and his mom came around. Courage was the truth. He would save them from all types of mysterious creatures and stuff. And the thing about Courage is that was a scary cartoon. People underestimate how scary that cartoon really was. That joint was Return the Slab. Yo, that joint was really scary. Muriel turned into a monster. Eustace turned into a monster. Everybody turned into a monster but Courage. Courage the only one like, what is going on? He had that computer. He had to talk to the little computer. Computer, what is going on? And Courage never had words for real, for real. He had a couple words, but he was he'd be to the computer. The computer would just come back, you're effing up, Courage. Like the computer kept it back with him. But Courage was a true hero. It was a dog that didn't speak no words, which is really, I shouldn't have to say this, is uncommon in cartoons. Usually dogs have a bunch of stuff to say, like, but Courage, he just kept it silent, kept it G. That's what I'm talking about, Courage. You do you. Anyway, another one, number 2, Ed, and Eddie, 99. Yo, Ed and Eddie feel so much more older than that, and not because, like, no weird stuff, but because it's like such a timeless cartoon. Ed, and Eddie, yeah, like that is stuck in your mind, stuck in your memory. Like that is one of the more, okay. There were no adults in this show. Let's just get that out the way early. There were no parents in this joint. These kids were in the cul-de-sac running wild, doing whatever they wanted to do. Ed and Eddie, they were always plotting on some bread, trying to get a jawbreaker, from the candy store. That's all they really want, man. They were going countless adventures with the kids. Yo, it's kind of like Kids Next Door, where as a kid you watch that and you're like, man, I wish that was how life was for us. Like no parents in the cul-de-sac. We just run around living life, doing whatever we want to whatever time we want. You know what I mean? For some of us, it was really like that. You know what I mean? But and for your average kid growing up, it just wasn't like that. And you had there was lessons in that too. You know what I mean? You had the Canker sisters. You know what I mean? Before there was even a word thought, these girls was out here running down on young men, just trying to kiss them in all types of weird ways, and it didn't even make much sense to me. Even back then, I was like, whoa, girls ain't supposed to be acting like this. I don't even want to meet nobody like that. Like, ugh. You know what I mean? But Ed, and Eddie is a timeless cartoon. If you can catch you some Ed, and Eddie right now, yo, catch it. Catch it and hold it tight, because that joint is classic. But what is more classic than number 1? I'll tell you what's more classic than number 1. Absolutely nothing, because number 1 is SpongeBob SquarePants. Yo, this is the thing. If you ask from ages 1 to 100, if you ask them one question for $100 million, you gotta answer this right, Mrs. Jenkins. Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? And I bet you $100 million, Mrs. Jenkins will straight up tell you SpongeBob SquarePants. He's iconic. First off, SpongeBob SquarePants has been on 12 seasons. 12 seasons. And we're not talking about an adult cartoon like The Simpsons or a Family Guy. We talking about a children's cartoon. 12 to multiple decades. My kids could watch SpongeBob and feel that, just like I felt it after school. Plus, SpongeBob had all his homies under the sun, under the water with him. He was doing everything, jellyfishing. There was snow at times. Sometimes there was fire under that joint. Going camping with his homies, but he mostly loved the Krusty Krab where you can flip Krabby Patties and F with Squidward. See, Squidward was a character who really didn't want to be bothered by anybody. He just really thought he was a fancy type dude. You know what I mean? He just thought he was a classic man. And Squidward just didn't want to F with nobody in that whole town. There was nobody Squidward liked at all except for maybe his mom or something. I could F with that though. You know what I'm saying? I could definitely mess with that. That's a man of character. But SpongeBob and Patrick would antagonize this poor man. Most of the episodes had something to do with him antagonizing either Squidward or stopping Plankton from trying to steal the Krabby Patty secret formula from Mr. Krabs, who only loved bread, which I could also respect. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Mr. Krabs would do anything for that bag. And, you know, hey, I mean, in 2020, I mean, hey, Mr. Krabs fit right there because we all out here, you know what I'm saying? Only fans and all that. Anyway, SpongeBob is, if not one of, then just straight up the most iconic kids cartoon that ever was. At Blue's Clues, you was right there, but you switched it up with that Asian dude. Not that I have anything against the Asian community, but Steve was our guy. I mean, Joe, he was cool too when he came. It was like, all right, Joe, okay, but I don't even know this dude. We don't even know him. We don't even know him. Anyway, this has been another amazing top 5. I'd like to thank y'all for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And man, we got some merch for y'all too on the way.